Hey, welcome back to another episode of Franly Advice. If you're watching on YouTube, I just got a new camera, and if it looks weird, let me know. But we've worked really hard to stop it from going in and out of focus, so it still may like jump here and there. But I want to try it out to see if it would work better than, you guessed it, I've been using my phone. So this is going to be super helpful for me personally as someone who used to do podcast management. Now I get to put the sound into my computer directly and stop playing the transfer game and like feeling weird about my audio levels and sounds. So this is all going to be a little confidence boost for Fran. And hopefully, this little small investment I made in my podcast will be worth it. Anywho, so let's talk about what we came here for today. You guys have asked me this in discovery calls, in my DMs, everywhere you can possibly ask me questions. You have asked, how do I determine my rates and prices as a virtual assistant starting out? What do I do to package my services? And today I'm answering the questions for real, not like here's a light suggestion and come pay for my course. No, seriously, this is how you could do it on your own before even hiring me to get the ball rolling on your own. We'll talk about the mistakes I see too often, but the biggest one that I'm going to address right now is people randomly pulling a price point out of thin air and trying to make it stick and work. It is not going to work. It is not fetch. It will never work. So just don't do that. We'll talk about how you do it. Pricing isn't just what feels right on the inside. I know we love the woo woo, but it is not. It's one of those things that you can actually use this formula to come up with. It's about what keeps you profitable and what the market demands. So, here's what we're going to go over. I'll break it down real quick before we jump into each section. So, the first section we're going to talk about is research. How to research your pricing and packages and how to do it well. Number two, how to price based on your experience level without underselling yourself or even over for some of us. And then finally, number three, we'll talk about how to choose the right pricing model. So these three pricing models, I have used all but one and plan to use one in the future. But we'll talk through what those are and what that looks like and how to choose for one for yourself. If you've been stuck on what to charge and how to scale, this episode is going to be for you. So as usual, get out your notepads and let's get to note taking. That was such a weird thing to do with my hands, but felt right. All right, so research first. Research over me search, as I always say. I got it from Conscious Lee. I didn't make it up. What are people paying? So before setting a price, check the market. It's not about checking the market's vibes. It's like for real doing math. So step one for doing this market research, look into industry standards. Use sites like Upwork, Fiverr, LinkedIn, Facebook groups, Glassdoor to see what people are charging for similar services. Don't just look at one source. Check out multiple places and compare them. We're actually going to do like basic math. When you get on Fiverr, you search for, let's say, podcast management. It will always be my example because it's the one I did the most. Let's say you want to be a podcast manager. You search for podcast management VAs who are currently offering the service. You search for job postings that are looking for podcast managers, and you search on like LinkedIn how much a podcast manager makes. Use Google, use Pinterest. At the end of that, however many sites you use, we're going back to the basics. You're going to write out all 5 prices of however many you use. Could be 5, could be 6. And then divide it and get the average. And the average will tell you what the price range should be in general based on your own research. And this will help you feel more confident when you go to talk to clients. I know it does for me. When I'm talking to people about my rates and they say like, wow, $997 is a lot for a coach every single month. And I'm like, actually, it's under market value. And I know because I did this. I did the research to find out on average, most coaches are charging you about $2,500 to do one-on-one coaching like I do. and I'm charging people $9.97 every single month. So I know I am under market value, and I'll explain to you in the next section why I might be a little under the average market value right now for as a coach. But for you, you want to play right at market value as a virtual assistant. Okay. And then we'll talk about like where you place yourself in the range. All right. Factor number 2, factor in your industry niche. And that's why I said when you're on these job sites, search for what you do. So I search for podcast management, search for social media management for coaches versus what it looks like to be a social media manager for tech startups. Well, and know that these things will have different price ranges. So when we think about your personal niche, you need to also think about your client's particular niche in this scenario. For example, coaches might have a smaller budget. So coaches may not be able to pay a social media manager over $1,500 a month. So you'll need a couple coaching clients in order to get to whatever your goal is. But a tech startup, you might be able to find 2 tech startups and automatically start hitting 10K months because they're going to be more of a corporate salary. They already have contractors factored into their budget if they're looking for them, but they'll have different pricing expectations based on where they are in their business. And then finally, number 3, when it comes to setting your prices, think about your location. This matters. But not always, sometimes. If you're working in the US and you're working with US based clients, their budgets may be higher than international clients. Always position your pricing based on the value you bring, not just your location, but we want to make sure we factor that in as well. After you do your research, we're going to do a second step. We're going to talk about how to set your pricing based on your experience level. This one, we're going to dive deep in. Okay. So bear with me. I've been through each one of these stages, and I want to tell you right now, the first part might hurt your feelings, but you will be okay. It will be fine. So when you're setting your prices based on experience, there are 3 experience levels that I have categorized people into, and it's the same way I treat my clients as well. There is the beginner VA, and we'll start there. This is someone you're new to offering this service, and you got to charge the lower end of the market. And I know most people will tell you, charge your worth, or like increase your rates, raise your rates. But when you're starting out, if you're just learning a skill, you may need to start on the lower end to gain real world experience. So let me give you some examples of like what the lower end in different industries may be. So for social media managers, if you're just doing basic social media, you could be between $400 and $800 a month. And if you're brand new, I would say steer closer to the $400 a month, but also like track how much effort and time it takes you to do these things. If you're a podcast manager, on the low end, it's about $50 an episode, all the way up to $150 an episode for a brand new VA. Stay somewhere in there. Don't go past that 100 mark if this is your very first time offering these services to someone else outside of your family or you. Don't go too far over that $100 mark there. And then for admin VAs, this is going to be your general VA who's just kind of doing tasks here and there. You want to stick between $20 and $35 an hour. If you hit up to $35 an hour, you need to figure out a way to prove value. It could be that you just came from a really big corporate job and you have a lot of talent from that job, but you may fit into the next category we talk about. Here's the thing about being a beginner VA. What I just told you, you're like, Fran, you got me so excited. You talk about making $50,000 before. How the hell am I supposed to get a $50,000 with these low ass rates that you're talking about? Here's the thing. This is a starting point as a beginner VA. When I was a baby VA, I just posted about this last week. I had clients who paid me $20 an hour. I would work a lot of hours for them, but I had clients who were only paying me $20 an hour. After I got about a couple clients who were paying me $20 an hour, I decided, okay, let's raise my rates. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm talking about. And I moved up to $25 an hour. And I kind of slowly crept up the ladder when it came to like one-on-one VA work. But this is not where you are going to stay. This is simply a start. This is a short-term pricing strategy to get you the confidence and experience. It's not a permanent price point. Okay? Keep that in mind for all my baby beginner VAs. This is not the end all be all. This is not a sob story. This is just where you should start if you have no experience, no idea what you're doing. You just need to get your feet wet. And to be fair, $20 an hour ain't that bad. Okay, so the next kind of person is going to be your intermediate VA. This is somebody who has the skills but has never built their own business. So we're going to be charging the median rate. This is someone, if you've done the work before but never been the CEO, aim for this middle price range. You bring proven experience even if it's not under your own business. The key here is price competitiveness, and this will reinforce the value of your unique approach. Here in the median income, you're not really playing around with learning skills anymore, and that's why you can go like a little higher than we talked about the baby starter VA. So if we're thinking admin VA, who is like a brand new one, is $20 to $35. For an intermediate VA, you're probably going to be starting at $30 as your starting rate, and all the way up to like $45, $50 an hour if you're doing hourly. And this person isn't learning new skills. They're just learning new ways of working with clients. So this is someone who was like the operations lead at a corporate job, maybe got let go, and is now doing tech setups in that same vein and field that they were doing for a large corporation. Now they're just doing it for smaller businesses. They know what they're doing. They're just refining their approach a little bit to fit a smaller client. And then also intermediate VAs are just baby VAs who graduated. Just baby VAs who actually know the skills now and know what they're doing. They're just now trying to figure out how to apply this to multiple clients and how to do it efficiently. All right, finally, we have our experienced VA. This is the virtual assistant who's doing white glove services, has maybe 5 clients, or runs a big time agency. And this VA has had at least 10 to 20 case studies at this point, like knows what they're doing and can charge premium rates. So if you've proven results and client wins, it's time to go top tier. So premium pricing is for those of us who have had multiple case studies and testimonials, have refined our processes that deliver results efficiently, and are positioned as experts rather than just service providers. The key here is to stop charging based on time and to start charging based on value and transformation. The experienced, like, go-getter expert VA, you can get here relatively fast if you put in the work. When I think about this, I think about people who become like lawyers and doctors and just researchers and any PhD person. They all have to put in so many hours before they can call themselves that doctor, right? Same for virtual assistants. You just need to put in the time in the beginning as a baby VA to get to the point of being experienced. Some of us go really fast. I went really fast. It took me like a year, maybe 15 months to get to the point where I was running an agency like clockwork. But I put my head down, I quit my job, and I really like leaned into the baby VA season, then leaned into the intermediate VA season, which I stayed in for a very long time. The intermediate VA like section, I think a lot of people live there forever, and that's fine. The experienced VA, this is where I think of like most CEOs, like where you go here. And you can get there. At this point, your rates are now going to look something like $1,500 at minimum to work with you every single month, at minimum. And then it could also look like having packages that offer somebody a service, and go ahead and gasp, girl. at $5,000 a month. People can pay you that much for doing your services when you're offering premium and you're like taking on more of the work and also strategy at that point when you're up to that like $2,500, $5,000 mark. And it's not going to be a ton of clients at those high values. So we'll talk about the difference between a high ticket client and a low ticket client down the road. But yes, that's where you'll be. So usually the beginner VAs, you're dealing with lower ticket clients, people who are getting their business off the ground or people who just don't have a ton of extra cash or profit to shed out to a new virtual assistant, but they need some help. Your experienced VA, you're usually working with business owners who are like ready for next level shit. Like they are ready to move past what they've been doing and they're graduating into building empires and they're trying to see if you can help them do it. Intermediate VAs, you're usually working with people who have pretty solid businesses who are just kind of like, this is where I want to be, this is where I want to stay, and I love it here. And you're like, great, I love it here too. All right, so now that you know how much to charge, let's talk about how to structure it. So, when I talk about packaging, I think some people get confused. They're like, yeah, I know I want to be a social media manager and I want to offer X, Y, and Z services. Yes, it's part of your package. But what I'm talking about is like what your model is going to be. So, option number 1 is going to be retainer based model. And this one to me is the best model ever, especially if you want to scale into an agency or you just want to scale to having high ticket clients. So, what is it? This is clients paying at a set rate for a bundle of services per month. And pricing is based on deliverables and not hours. So, why this works? It creates predictable income each and every month. So you have the option to forecast to say, like, okay, I know my clients have to give me at least a 60 to 90-day notice before they leave me. So I'm able to forecast how much money in revenue I should generate this quarter because every single client is paying the exact same amount every single month. There should be not too much variance in what they're paying, unless they're like adding on services here and there. But for the most part, you just know like, okay, these people are on this package, they pay this much, and they should be here at least for the next 3 months. Got it. You keep going from there and you're able to forecast where your business will be by the end of the quarter, maybe even by the end of the year if there's little to low attrition. It makes it so much easier to predict your income as a virtual assistant. And then it also works because it allows you for growth and efficiency. If you get faster, you make more money. So for us, when I was doing podcast management, I did get faster. I got the ability to like understand like how to listen for what each client needed to be edited out. I also started to learn AI at the time and I understood like they couldn't actually replace an editor, but they could do some of the basics like taking out the breaths, taking out the ums, alerting me to sections that I needed to pay attention to because it sounded confusing to AI. So it is possible to get faster at what you do because you've learned more, you have more tools under your belt to help and support you. And you probably also just in general have done it so much that you know it by like the back of your hand, but you aren't losing any money from getting faster. And then another reason why I love this model so much is it's easier to transition into an agency model by outsourcing tasks. So you immediately know if I charge, let me give you an example. If I charge $1,500 for 4 podcast episodes edited, show notes, a blog, and uploading it to your website every month, no social media stuff, just those things. I know whether it takes you 10 hours or 4 hours, the client will still get the same result and they still pay the same amount. And I also from there can know how much I can afford when it comes to an editor, a copywriter, and a virtual assistant per client because I already have this pretty solid model set up. Okay. So option number 1 is retainer based model. Option number 2 is going to be the hourly model. This is best for newer virtual assistants or flexible workloads. Like if you're a stay-at-home mom and you're just kind of like, okay, I just need some extra cash. to help my family out right now, and I just need a couple hours here and there doing virtual assistant work, this would be really good for you. So what is it? Clients pay per hour worked, usually with a monthly minimum. You need to have a monthly minimum, and I'll tell you why more in a second. So, why it works is great for beginner VAs who are still defining your offers. It also offers flexibility for clients who may not need set deliverables. Like they're not sure what they need every single month, but they know they at least need 10 hours of work. So if you do decide to go with hourly, you need to charge a monthly minimum to kind of predict some of your income, and then also put a 30-day notice period in your contract. Creating a monthly minimum will just create predictability when it comes to trying to forecast your income and revenue. So if you say like, okay, I have these 3 clients, they're all at a monthly minimum of at least 10 hours for $20 an hour, I at least will bring in $600 a month. And then, like maybe one of them always goes up to 40 hours. And so that covers another area. Another one typically will still do 20, and another one will probably do about 15. So, in general, there will be some give and take in your income, but the base will be $600. And if you like are needing more clients to make the base higher, you could tell some of your clients, this is what I used to do, and pitch it to them like this. When you do a monthly minimum of 10 hours, that's making sure I save 10 hours of room for you each month when it comes to considering bringing in new clients. If you would like to increase your monthly minimum to ensure that I can cover 40 hours of your work, that is fine. I'm happy to switch to a monthly minimum of 40 hours. That actually worked for me a couple of times. And it also helped me not take on too many clients because I couldn't predict how much work other clients would want. So if I knew, okay, I need to save at least 40 hours for Susie and I need to save at least 20 hours for Billy, and they all actually like made that their new monthly minimum, it was a lifesaver. But here's some cons to doing the hourly model. And the hourly model is the only one that I have cons for because I try to talk people out of staying in this model too long. So, con number 1, harder to scale and forecast income. I gave you a way you could do it with monthly minimums, but it's very hard to actually continue to scale past yourself. And the second con is it can lead to clients micromanaging your time instead of trusting your results. This happened to me a lot when it came to hourly clients. They nickeled and dimed me. They always wanted to know, like, oh, well, why did this take you like 2 hours when it usually only takes you like an hour and 45 minutes to do this? Were you like taking breaks in between doing my work? Listen, lady, it took me 2 hours today because you had a last minute edit, right? It was like trying to remember why things took so long, making sure we documented a whole bunch of details around like what we were doing, why we were doing it for clients, so they understood the hours we were using. But here's an example of what hourly rates look like. You could do $35 an hour with a 10-hour minimum. Always do a minimum. If you heard nothing else, and if you're like, Fran, I'm going hourly, do a minimum. That's all I ask. Just make sure you do a monthly minimum. All right, option number 3, revenue share. This one, I feel like it is best for people who do direct ROI services or trackable things. What is it? You charge a base rate plus a percentage of revenue you help generate. So you work with the business owner and you say like, okay, I can help you generate more revenue. Just give me 10% of all new sales or net new cash each month based on the work I'm doing with you. So who this would work for? This will work very well for social media managers who directly impact lead generation. This would also work well for email marketers who drive sales through campaigns. And then it would also work for high-level service providers like tech VAs, OBMs, whose work leads to measurable revenue growth. That is really like who this is like aimed towards. So let me give you an example of what a revenue share model looks like. So example is a social media manager pricing could be a base rate of $1,000 a month with a bonus on top of 10% with with a bonus on top of 10% of all revenue from leads converted that month. So these are people who went from being just a follower and then converted into a lead and then converted into a client. So let's say the client makes $20,000 on a launch that you helped with on their social media. From their IG leads, you get an additional $2,000, so 10% of that $20,000. And now you just had a $3K month with one client alone. So it is kind of a win-win for both of you. You get paid based on real impact, and clients get a true win-win. They have a lower base cost, but more earnings when you help them succeed. So it gives you like a little more pep in your step and creates like a natural bonus for you. Like if you used to have like a huge corporate bonus and you're looking for a way to re-implement that in your own business, try the revenue share model. I am eager to try this out later this year. So you heard me talk about I only charge $9.97. I want this to become my base rate. Right now, it is just my rate, but I want it to become my base rate, and I want to add 10% on top based on like how many new clients you get in, like cash in sales that month, not potential sales, like or potential cash. That is the actual cash you got in that month. So for a few of my clients, actually, I don't think I have any clients who haven't gotten like a discovery call from me or a lead from me at this point. Yeah. So like I'll introduce them to my friends, or I will help them figure out how to get leads, which is my whole job. So I want to tie my success and my growth directly back to my clients eventually. And it would be more of a revenue share model, which I think is really cool. It helps both of you not feel the burden of working together, because I've had past like coach client relationships that felt burdensome because the rate was like $2,500 a month. And if I had a low month, I still had to pay my $2,500 a month. But doing a revenue share model, something like $9.97, when you are bringing in at minimum like 10 to 20K every single month, is a no-brainer. And then when there's extra on top, it's just like, yeah, my coach helped me do that. And that's the same for you guys. It'll be like, yeah, my virtual assistant helped me do that. Okay. Now, finally, let's talk about some common pricing mistakes and how to avoid them. Do not feel shame if you've already done any of these, because let me tell you why I know about these. I've done all 5. All right. Mistake number 1, charging too low for too long. This will lead directly to burnout. It is the direct passage to Burnoutville. I have done this, and I had almost quit my virtual assistant business like a month in because of this. I was like, I might as well stay at my job. Like, I'm never going to beat my income. I'm never going to match it. It's not going to work out. And it turns out I just wasn't charging enough. So yes, I was never going to increase or beat my work income because I was not charging enough. So make sure when you start as that baby VA on the lower price range, you keep up with your experience level and you increase when it is appropriate timing. Mistake number 2, not considering business expenses and taxes and pricing. Gosh, I've done this more times than I'd like to admit. But you want to think about, when you charge a client, you want to think about what you need your take home rate to be, how much it costs for you to run your business, and how much you need to save for taxes every single month. Because yes, you should save for taxes up front instead of waiting for Uncle Sam to tell you how much you owe. Mistake number 3, not increasing your prices as you gain experience. Same as mistake number 1. If you don't do this, you go into Burnoutville, but you want to make sure as you get that experience, I would say every new 5 clients you get, evaluate yourself. Create some kind of self-evaluation to tell you like, okay, I'm at the point where it's time to increase my rates. Or, okay, I'm at the point where I need to pivot and increase my rates with the pivot. Mistake number 4, offering too many pricing models at once. This leads to confusion. People generally just won't buy. If you have like more than 3 packages as a virtual assistant, reevaluate, stop. That's too much. You're doing too much. Pick 3 solid packages to start with. Do not create a cheesecake factory worth of packages. And finally, mistake number 5, underpricing when moving from solo VA to agency. This one hurts the worst, and I did it before. This one, it's almost like you could make a $25,000 month as an agency owner, but about 20,000 of it goes right back to your team, and then 5,000 you need that in savings and to pay for like your technology, and you essentially take home $2, right? You want to make sure you factor in all the help you're going to need when you move to the agency model and all the tech and software you will need to support your team. Factor that in as you grow. Do not grow an agency without doing that. Okay, cool. Let's wrap this up with a bow. So step number 1 is going to be to research the market rates. Step number 2, choosing your price range based on your experience level. Step 3, pick a pricing model that fits your business goals. Step number 4, adjust as you grow. Raise prices when you're ready. And step number 5, test, get feedback, and refine your pricing and packaging. All right. So if you found this very helpful, share this with another VA friend that you know and let them know I am available for coaching. I have one more one-on-one spot left for this month of March. There should be more spots opening up in April, but for March, I got one more left. So if you want to start now, we can. If you want to wait until April, I'm free then too. I also have my VA in a day where we do a VIP day where we actually set all the systems up you need to become a virtual assistant in just one day. You can choose from a set menu of 6 items. And if you need to, you can do 3 separate VA days if you want to do all 6 items with me. Or if you're like, Fran, I really just need these 2 things, then we can work on that and focus on it. If you want some help, you guessed it, there will be a link in the show notes below. All right. See y'all later. Bye.